All right, guys, it is April 5th, 2023. I believe this is my 10th collection vlog already, so pretty good. Got 10 in the books. Well, 10 after today. So anyway, it's a brand new month, April 5th. I finished up March pretty good. I think I did pretty relatively good. The only negative part about the last day was I logged in that morning and had 5 payments reverse. Actually, make that six. I had 6 reversed payments and it put me in a panic. I go, boy, 6 is a lot to overcome. And I started making phone calls and I just wasn't getting anywhere. I got to lunchtime and I had resolved one account and I was like, oh my gosh, this is like a nightmare. I've got to fix these accounts. It's the last day of the month. But what ended up happening is by the end of the day, I think I resolved like 8 accounts, which wasn't my biggest day, but I overcame the reversals, and I only fixed 2 of those reversals, by the way. All the other payments were from brand new accounts, so that did help me. They haven't done the final numbers yet, but I'm pretty sure I was able to achieve goal. So anyway, now we're moving into April. A couple things I was gonna go over really quick, and that's in terms of making contacts, and when you feel like you're struggling to get people on the phone, and that's what was happening on the last day. So I had to stop and think, okay, let's think about some basics here. What's causing me to not get contacts? And then I started thinking I'm not asking enough open ended questions with people that are answering the phone. I started getting in a rush and started going to the next call, to the next call. So, for example, I'd say, can I speak with John Doe? John Doe's not available. Great, let me leave a message. And I kept jumping to that. And I go, okay, wait a minute, wait a minute. I need to stop doing that and I need to probe a little bit and start asking open ended questions. So, in other words, somebody answers the phone, John Doe's not here. Okay, great. Who am I speaking with? Was my next question. And if sometimes it's actually your consumer that's on the phone saying he's not there. So if you ask them, may I ask who's speaking? If they respond with, I don't need to tell you that, that's none of your business, you have your consumer on the phone. So you just have to be really cautious at that point and try to stay on your P's and Q's. But if they just said, oh, this is so and so, John Doe isn't here, then the next line of question is, oh, great, what number can I reach him at? Is the next question. You don't want to ask it in this fashion, do you have his number? Because if you say a yes or no question, you're going to get a no 99% of the time. Do you have his number? No. Now you're stuck. So my question always is, what's the number I could reach him at? And if they say, I don't have that, would you mind checking your cell phone to see if it's in your address book? That's my next question. Because you're pushing people into a corner. Because nowadays, with cell phones and the technology that it has, nobody really memorizes phone numbers, but everybody has everybody's phone numbers saved. So that's why I said, can you check your address book and tell me if the what number you have for them? If they tell me I don't have it in my address book, now you know they're lying. So my next form of question would be, who can I call that would have his phone number? Now, remember, you don't want to be rude, but you want to be assertive, like we talked about in the video previously. And by moving to the next question, who would have his phone number? I don't know. Now you're pushing them in a corner, and they're running out of lies. So that was like my goal. Who would have his number? What would you suggest I do to get hold of him? That's a good one. If they keep saying I don't know, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know, then I get to the point where, okay, well, in that case, let me just leave a message with you. Perhaps you can reach out to them and have them give me a call back. That would be my next line, and that tends to work because now not only are they going to get a message to the person, but they're not going to forget your phone call because they know this guy was asking a lot of questions about you, John. He wants to talk to you. I didn't want to give him your phone number, and those are the people that tend to call back. And just one more thought about this is, remember, try not to ask a question that can be answered with a yes or no. That's the goal. That helps because once I stopped and slowed down and started thinking, okay, I need to get some context because I have to get some money, and this is referring to the last day of the month. That's when I go, let's go back to all my basics and think about what I'm saying on the phone from the front end because every move you make is going to dictate whether or not you're going to get that contact that you desperately need. And that's why I had to start thinking about all my basics. Once I slowed down and started questioning, I started getting more contacts and I started getting some money and I started to push myself towards my goal. But Again, it's all basics. You can't forget what your basics are. And then, that's why I keep doing these videos and talking about some of the most basic things that you need to do. And mastering asking questions is a huge thing. Anyway, I better get to it, get this phone back on, breaks over for me, and I'll go over a little bit more later and we'll see how we're doing. Have a good one. All right, that's a wrap for the first half of the day. Not too bad today. Looks like I picked up 7 accounts. So we took 7 payments already. I have some money working as well. So not too shabby for the first half of the day. I'm taking lunch a little bit early today as I'm working 7 to 4. So I'm going to come back and hit it. Right now, I'm still working in the open category because they haven't really distributed our business yet. So I don't have my client list yet. But once I get that, which I believe should be Thursday, then my whole mind frame's going to change. I'm going to really start going for it. But I've been working pretty steady the last few days. Yesterday's production was really good, by the way. I resolved 15 accounts yesterday, and then today I picked up the 7. So we're on the same pace. So it's actually 2 solid days so far for this month. So we're looking pretty good. And then on the 3rd, which was the first day of the month, I took 7. So it's not too bad. If you think about it, that's pretty consistent production for the first 3 days. Real quick, I was just going to touch on one thing here. One thing I noticed this morning is as I was working through my accounts, in a lot of cases, you're going to have the tendency to want to review the notes on the account before you make the call, and you got to be really careful with that. And sometimes I'm guilty of it too, because I'll go through what happened, what happened, what happened. I'm scrolling through the notes, so you're going to be really careful of that because you don't want to get in the habit of reading notes and then dialing. The reason for that is that if you're reading the notes first, then you dial, that's how much time you've wasted, before you've actually connected with somebody. And, let's face it, most outbound calls are going to end with an answering machine. So if you're going to spend, 3 minutes, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, whatever, reading notes to prepare yourself and then make the call, it's going to throw you off. So the key thing is what I've learned to do over the years, and sometimes I stray from it and I have to force myself to go back to it, is dial first, read second. So as the phone's ringing, I could quickly go through the notes and see what happened in the previous call so I can prepare myself, because the most important thing about making a phone call is know what you're about to say before the call is answered. Because if you go into a phone call and you have no idea what the history of the account is, you can sound a little silly. In other words, the opportunity that you're looking for will make you look silly if you're not prepared. So you want to make sure that you have an understanding of what happened. Sometimes it's a real simple note, like the consumer might have said, I can make the payment on Friday. And if you're calling him on a Thursday, you know something's wrong. So if you make that call day before, he's going to say, look, I told the last guy I can't pay it till Friday. So those are the little things you want to look for. There could be an issue with the account. There could be a missing payment, a bounce check that needs to be addressed. There could be several things that could create a purpose for that phone call. So you want to be prepared for it, and some of the calls are real basic. They're just late on their payments, so you're just calling them. So there's not much to read, which is reality. But in other words, though, in other cases, though, you want to make sure that you're prepared, because the more confident you sound on the phone and the more intelligent you sound on the phone, the better your chances are of resolving the account. So if you go into a phone call and you're wishy-washy about why you're calling, the consumer is going to lose confidence in your ability to resolve their account. In other words, they're going to feel like you don't know what you're talking about. And when that happens, that's going to spell trouble for you, because they're not going to want to resolve the account. And I have experienced this a lot. Anytime I go into a brand new contract, or if I switch companies, for example, and I go into my phone call, I can feel myself a little hesitant, like I don't know exactly what I want to say. And my best advice for that, if you're new at this, fake it till you make it. You want to sound like you know what you're talking about, even if you absolutely do not. Sometimes confidence is all it takes to get through a phone call. So I give you an example. There was a period of my time in my career where I got promoted at one point, and I had done nothing but student loans. And what ended up happening is when I got promoted, they moved me to state debt. So in other words, now I'm collecting on taxes. Never collected taxes before, yet I had 32 people that I was in charge of. So I'm like, oh no, And I was walking down the row of collectors one day, and one of my new agents said, "Hey, Dan, I need you to take this call." And I'm like, "Oh, okay," And I when I took the call, and I didn't know the terminology, and I didn't know how to give rebuttals on this contract. I wasn't educated on it yet. But what I did was like I faked it till I made it. The guy got on the phone and he started explaining to me all these issues, why he hasn't paid, and the problems that we had caused. And all I did as a rebuttal is I go, "Listen, sir, I'm just going to be straight up with you. You know you owe it. Our client knows you owe it. It's just a matter of whether or not you want to resolve it. How can I help you do that?" And he goes, "Do you guys take credit cards?" That was an easy one. And I said, "Yeah, of course." So I took the payment, closed the call. The collector thought I was some sort of magical being. But no, I just used my confidence. As the weeks progressed on that contract, I started to understand the terminology and my confidence level went up. So as I was training people, I was able to know exactly how to rebut. But sometimes the rebuttals can be super simple like that. Like you just have to point out the obvious. This is what's outstanding according to our records. How would you like to resolve the account? And like I say over and over and over again, all these things can be done without being coarse, rude, or abrupt, because the harder you are on the phone, the less likely you're going to resolve the account. Plus, when you're pushing really, really hard like that, people tend to back off. They don't want to be pushed or coerced into something they don't want to do. So you have to learn how to sell them on the idea of paying their account. And that's what I did this morning a few times actually. I had to point out the obvious. This is where you're at. This is the level of delinquency you're at. These are the options. I can do A, I can do B, I can do C. I would break down all the options for payment arrangements, and then leave it in their hands. It's up to you what you want to do, but here's what I suggest you do. Like I think I said that in a few videos. I use that line a lot. Here's what I would suggest you do, rather than saying you must do this. I say here's what I suggest you do. That makes a big, big difference. Anyway, it's lunchtime for me, so I'm gonna head out for now, and we'll recap at the end of the day. But so far, pretty good day so far. I'm pretty happy with my results. So we'll get back at it in a few hours, and I'll see you guys at the end of the day. All right, guys, that is a wrap. It is the end of Wednesday, and I am ready to go home. It's time to pack up the equipment and hit the road. I did pretty good today, though. We resolved 12 accounts. Not bad. Not bad at all. Yesterday, 15, 12 today. That's a really good start to my month. I'm looking forward to getting the distribution of my accounts on Wednesday, and then I can really get focused, like I was saying earlier. So that's going to be really good. I was trying to compare what I'm doing now to previous collection jobs, and uh, the only thing I could really compare to what I'm doing right now, because I'm doing more of a commercial collections and just trying to resolve accounts, is my early years, like my first position as a collector. I did something called supplemental pre-claims, and what that was is that I would work on student loans that were delinquent but were not defaulted yet. And my objective back then was to contact the borrower and let them know of their delinquency of their student loan. And then I would have to either sell them on the idea of getting a deferment, a forbearance, or obviously just to secure the payment. It's kind of similar to what I do now, because with these type of arrangements, I can secure payments, offer addendums, deferments, forbearances. There's all kinds of different things that you can kind of do with these accounts, which is helpful to the customer or consumer. But with student loans are way more cutthroat, because with student loans, the problem with taking out a student loan is if you allow that thing to default, it's going to be very costly to you, because there's the tax offset program, and they don't require you go to court for that. They can garnish your wages without going to court. And I believe, I could be wrong, but I believe it was 10% of your disposable income. I can't remember now. It's been a long time. So with student loans, there's a lot of leverage that you had, because the ramifications were so steep for defaulting. So what I'm going with this is that with the business that I'm in right now, sometimes the ramifications may be not as sharp or as harsh as maybe say a student loan. So going back to what I was saying earlier, is you need to find the incentive, the the one thing that's going to motivate the person to pay. And for me, I try my best to express the importance of keeping it current to keep your equipment so you don't lose anything. Even though my objective is to make sure nobody loses anything, I don't want anybody to lose equipment. So I try to do everything I can to focus on that with them and let them know, hey, you want to catch up because of late charges and the possibility of losing equipment and things like that. So you have to sell the idea, like I was talking about earlier. What's important to the person? What's going to motivate the person? And don't be afraid to ask it. If you're at a loss with somebody, you guys are at a crossroads, you're talking to a consumer, you can't come up with a resolution. So it doesn't hurt to say, can I ask you a question, Mr. Smith? What's it going to take to resolve this? Or what's going to make you happy? Or what is the real issue here? What's the problem? What can I do to help? You have to ask these probing questions because they're not going to tell you right away. Because unfortunately, when someone is behind the eight ball like that on their finances, their first response to virtually anything you're going to tell them is, I don't have the money, go away. And that's natural, totally natural, because when you fall behind on bills, your anxiety level's super high and you're worried. People lose sleep over things like this, and it's total reality. So you want to talk to them, make sure that they understand, you understand what they're going through. You want to give them a solution that works for them. You want to offer anything you can to smooth this thing out for them. You have to use this type of terminology. I know I'm speaking in very general terms right now, but when I'm talking to somebody, especially like today, I had talked to a lot of people today, and that's a lot of the times that's what I lean on. What can I do to help you? What's really going on? Tell me what the problem is. People love that. They can tell you what's causing the delinquency. And the one thing that's key about that though is when you open up that floodgate and you say, "Tell me what's going on," you have to be an active listener. And when I was younger at this, I didn't have that skill set. I learned and developed that along the way. And there was certain points, and there's been certain times where I've actually like written stuff down. They're not paying because of A, B, C, so that when I'm starting to address their concerns, I'll start from the top. Okay, so you stop paying this because you lost your job at this point, and then now you're working, but you're waiting for a paycheck. So you have to address everything that they're concerned with within your phone call. That helps so much because active listening is what people want. They want to know that you're concerned. They want to know that you're willing to help them. And so the active listening is super, super critical to your success as a debt collector. And that's what I try to do anyway. And it doesn't always go that way because sometimes people are just upset and they just don't want to hear it. They'll even tell you, I don't want to hear your spiel. I don't want to hear whatever you have to say. I'm going to do it my way. And that's reality. And I think I've said that before is you're never going to get them all. No one ever gets them all. And I've worked and done this for a long time, and I can never tell you I had a 100% resolution rate. Never. Never. It just doesn't happen. The best you can do is set the personal goals each day and try to resolve as many accounts as you can. For me, I always look to try to resolve 10 accounts a day. If I can resolve 10 accounts a day, I feel like I'm being very productive. If I resolve anything over 10, I'm being extremely productive. And so that's why when I hit 10, I really go, go, go. Because you're like, okay, I'm at 10. Now I'm really ready to roll. Because now I can put together this excellent day. And anyway, I'm kind of just, I'm kind of spinning my wheels right now. But anyway, that's a wrap for today. Thanks for watching again. I'll be doing another vlog probably in about a week or so. I try to spread them out a little bit. And I've been doing other focuses like my BMX things and car stuff. But I really enjoy doing the collections vlogs. I really hope this helps people out there because I know a lot of times if you go on YouTube and you just Google debt collection, really all it is a lot of information about how to deal with a debt collector, how to avoid paying your debts, what you don't know about collections. There's all this negative aspect in what we do, and it's not negative. It really, what it is you're hired to do a job. And you're never asking people to do something they didn't ask for. They asked for the loan, they asked for whatever it is you're collecting on, and sometimes things go south, so we're here to put it back on track. And I remember one time I was reading this article about debt collection, and it was talking about all the millions and millions of dollars that are recovered in a year. And it says if there was no debt collection, the economy could collapse because people would just default on everything if there was no debt collection. So just keep that in mind if you're working as a debt collector. You're not a bad guy. This is what you do. Be professional, be assertive, be aggressive in a nice way, and set those goals. Make that money do your thing. Okay, guys, I'll see you later. Have a great night, and we'll talk again soon.